HiI'mLiv, and today I'm going to be showing and talking you through my 5-star reads of this year. What warrants a 5-star for me? I've got 3 different things that they have to achieve for me to warrant it into my 5-star collection. 1, I have to be emotionally connected to the characters and the story. I have to be emotionally invested. I have to have time in my day where I'm not reading the book and I can't help but think, God, what's happening in my book? What's going to happen next? I need to know. I have to be invested, otherwise there's absolutely no way it could be a 5-star. 2, I have to feel fulfilled by the end of the book. No argument, I have to feel fulfilled. I have to feel like I agree with the way that it ended. I agree with the whole concept. I agree with how the characters were finished, and I basically feel accomplished by the end of the book. I feel like, yes, I'm happy that I read that. Yes, I'm happy that it ended that way. And the 3rd one is that for days on end after reading it, I can't stop thinking about it. I've got books I'm going to speak about that I'm still thinking about weeks after I've read them. They just pop up in my head and I'm like, where the hell did that come from? So a book that's constantly on my mind, a book that I constantly think about, that is what warrants a 5-star for me. A few of these are on my Kindle as well, so there aren't going to be physical copies for some of them, but just know that they have been on my Kindle. My little list, and I'm going to talk you through it. First thing I'm going to talk about is a thriller, and that is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This book is a dark academia thriller. I love this book so much, and I give it a 5-star, obviously. I'm not going to say that after every book. I just realised I'm probably going to end up doing that. I'm just going to stop myself now and not do that again. Book I loved. This book is a pretty short book, by the way. It's just over... How long is this book? 315 pages, which is such a short book for a thriller, and there was so much packed into this. This book was about a load of friends who are reunited at a college reunion. These friends also had a friend who was murdered years ago. 10 years ago in college, their friend Heather was killed before she even graduated university. They've all met up again after uni 10 years later, and the killer never actually went down for the murder. It was presumed that it was the boyfriend who did it, but he never was actually charged with anything because there was never enough evidence. And so the brother of Heather is trying to find out who killed her. And everybody has a secret. He knows some of them, and they all come to the surface, but they come to the surface in a way that is done like in such a good way. Section where they're all saying, oh, well, I wasn't there when that happened. I wasn't there when that happened. And then it was like, well, you were. Why were you there? And then the secret comes out. They don't just come out randomly. They come out because it gets like brought up something that's a bit weird. Really, really love this book. I honestly felt so accomplished by the end of it, and it captivated me. I read it all in one day, in one night, and that's unheard of for me, to start a book at like 7 PM and finish it before it even gets to midnight. I read this book pretty quickly. The characters were great. My favourite characters were Felix and... who else? I feel like I really liked Cooper. Felix and Cooper were my favourites, to be fair. And yeah, there's so many different things happening in this book. There's love triangles, there's secrets, there's jealousy, rivalry, everything. But we also get to see the moments where the friends are friends in their friendship group, and you can see the dynamic of the group, and you can just see how beautiful it was in their friendship, and then you see where it just goes south, basically. The main character you're following, Jess, also is very secret about something. She doesn't remember certain things from the night that Heather died, and then all the secrets that come out, every single one I was shocked, and who did it shocked me, as well as the shock twist at the end. The next one I've got is another physical book, and that is The 5th Wave by Yancey. So this is a bit of a bigger book. It's about 500 or so pages. I really loved this book. This was a brilliant book. I read this when I did my dystopian reading vlog. So yeah, I read 3 dystopian books. This was a part of that. This one, I think I read when I did my reading 3 thrillers. So I did actually vlog that one as well. The world gets taken over by aliens, basically, and nobody knows what they want until they start killing people off. And we still don't know what they want until the end of the book. And the thing about the aliens is they look exactly like us. There's no difference to them and us. And so it's so creepy. You can trust nobody. So the main character we follow is Cassie, and Cassie meets a guy called Evan Walker, and we don't know if we can trust him or not. I love Evan Walker. There's loads of secrets that come out. It's a brilliant book. I was crying by the end of it. I was fully sobbing. I couldn't put it into words, and I was just shocked by the ending. It was truly a brilliant book, executed amazingly and written perfectly. So we follow 2 characters. We follow Cassie and Ben. Ben is somebody who gets enlisted into the army even though he's like 15. And then we also follow Cassie, who's the same age as Ben, I can't remember what age they were, like they were pretty young, they were in high school still. And we follow Ben, who thinks that he's working for a side that is trying to help the world, and Cassie, who is just trying to survive and find out who this guy is that she's met, which is Evan Walker. It's so good, the paths intertwine, and there's so many things that get figured out, but the whole point of the book is you're trying to figure out what is the 5th wave, what is coming, because we've had 4 waves so far where people have died, millions, billions of people, plagues and everything have taken people, and they don't know what the 5th wave is. What is coming next? And that's what it's all about. It's really, really good, amazing. The atmosphere that it produces is just brilliant, and the vibe is just everything. I was on the edge of my seat. I was scared. I was actually physically scared for this book. It was brilliant. I loved it. This book I read on my Kindle, and that is You've Reached Sam by Dustin Thao. Jesus Christ, this book was brilliant. I loved this book so much. Again, it's a short book. It's about 300 pages, and this book is about a girl called Jules, and Jules, where'd that come from? She's called Julie. Julie has a boyfriend, and he is in a car accident, and they haven't even left high school yet, they haven't lived their lives, and they had so many plans, and he dies. Julie's not coping very well with anything, and she calls him one day hoping to hear his voicemail one last time, and Sam picks up the phone. And the whole point of the book is, on the back it says, what would you do if you had one last chance to say goodbye? It's so emotional, and it's such a beautiful book about love, and about basically, as much as you want them to be together and everything, you know that inevitably she needs to be able to move on, and that's what the whole book's about. Him being able to let go, and her being able to let go, and also come to terms with the grief. And it's this beautiful moments where she gets to tell him about her day, and gets to know him more on the phone, and they chat, and there are moments in it where she has to be selfless, and she has to give up time that she could potentially have with him, and let the connection weaken on the phone with him by letting him talk to other people he never got to say goodbye to. So much, and it's so emotional, and I remember crying my eyes out. I read this again in a reading vlog when I did reading emotional books, and I was an absolute wreck. It's such an emotional book, and it's brilliant, and it ripped my heart to shreds, and it was honestly took me by surprise. And I think the one thing that did make it a 5-star for me was the shock ending. So there was a shock at the end, which is like makes your heart sink. And at the very end, hearing Sam's last message to say to Julie, it's heartbreaking. And all I can say is, if you've read it, the quote, "Don't forget me, okay? You won't forget me." It just has me, and every time I think about the book it just gets me crying. So and it also doesn't help my boyfriend is called Sam, so that just added a new level of like emotions to it as well. I might reread it actually, because I did buy it on my Kindle as well. It's not like a Kindle limited book. So, and the fan art for it is amazing as well. It's beautiful, the cover, because it's like the cherry blossoms I mentioned in the book, and we see flashbacks of Sam and Julie being together, and they're honestly so perfect together, but obviously they can't be together anymore, and they're holding hands. It was such a good book, and broke my heart into a million pieces, and I'm okay with that. Would highly recommend though. It was a brilliant book. Okay, the next book we have is The Cat and Mouse Duet by H.D. Carlton. So this book is a thriller romance. It's definitely a dark romance. Again, I read this on my Kindle, and it's a dark romance, thriller romance, and these are the books Haunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline. These books are incredibly morally grey, and if you're not into a dark romance, you probably will not be into these books, and that is okay. I personally love a dark romance. It's one of my favourite genres, especially thriller romances. I love this book. It was brilliant, this book series. First book is definitely easier than the second book, and the first book we follow Zaid and Adeline, and Zaid is a stalker for Adeline. He's in love with her, and he wants to show her that she can be in love with him, and she is his little mouse, and he is the cat. She doesn't know who Zaid is, she doesn't know who this guy is. He keeps like leaving roses everywhere, and it's an amazing story. I really liked it. It's very much filled with smut, so just be prepared, and it's a really good book. So Zaid's job is that he stops people from being human trafficked. So as I said, there's very dark subject matter in these books, and you will need to read the trigger warnings because there are so many, especially for the second book, and every single one of them, you bet, will be in those books. So do not read one and go, oh, there probably isn't going to be much of that. There is every single one. I checked. There is. I've read the books, guys. I've checked. The second book is a lot darker, and Adeline gets taken by a human trafficker and is being sold. And because she is Zaid's girlfriend, she's being sold for a lot of money. And it's heartbreaking. I cried. And part 1 is just devastating, and part 2 is Adeline trying to heal herself. It's a brilliant book and brilliant book series, and I honestly am so thankful that I read it, and it's definitely imprinted on my heart. Definitely. The next one we've got is The Things We Leave Unfinished by Rebecca Yarros, who is the person who also wrote The Fourth Wing. I love The Things We Leave Unfinished. Again, just want to say, Kindle read, and I adored this book. I read it again for that reading emotional books, and it was phenomenal. I read the Haunting and Hunting Adeline for reading TikTok sensational books. Just forgot to mention that. I read this Things We Leave Unfinished, and I didn't know what to expect. I heard nobody talk about this book. I got it on a whim because I like the cover art, and I just got it, and it was brilliant. I really thoroughly loved it and I enjoyed it. I will say that this book, for me, the plot line is what stuck with me the most, and I loved the emotions I felt for the characters and everything, but the plot line I adored. So we have a dual timeline plot line, and it's the past is World War II with Scarlett and Jameson, and the present is Noah and Georgia, and it is just normal everyday, normal time, present day. Noah and Georgia are trying to put together Georgia's grandmother's last memoir, her last book, her last romance, and it's going to be all about Georgia's grandmother's relationship with a guy she met in World War II called Jameson. We also get the story of Jameson and Scarlett, and we find out all of this through letters that Scarlett has written and parts of the book that she did start writing from the time she met Jameson. We see everything. We see Jameson and Scarlett have children, and it's beautiful. And then there's a shock twist because we know that something happened where Jameson and Scarlett couldn't have a future. We already know that from the beginning, but when we find out what actually happened and the truth of it all, it is such a bittersweet ending. It's such a bittersweet truth, and I adored the ending. Bright Side by Kim Holden is next, and oh my god, this book shattered my heart. This book was my 6-star book of the year. I've only had one, and it's this one. I adored this. I feel like You've Reached Sam could also be a 6-star book, by the way, but this book honestly was insane. So this book, we follow a girl, and she's called Kate. She joins a university and she meets loads of friends. She makes loads of friends along the way, and we see all of her story with these people and how she gets to know people and her bond with everyone. We also see her meet a guy called Keller in the coffee shop who she falls for. As much as they both like each other and as much as there's chemistry and sparks there, they both have a secret from each other, and it's a big secret. When both their secrets come out, they couldn't be more opposite than the other, the secrets. And can they push past it? Can they push past it to be with each other? And what does it mean? How much time do they have together? And what does it mean now that these secrets have been unraveled? Is there really a future for them? And it's so emotional. I was sobbing my eyes out. I was up at bloody 3 o'clock in the morning reading this book, and I finally put it away and I went, no, I need to finish it in the morning because I can't even open my eyes right now. Woke up in the morning, read the last 100 pages or so, and literally screamed into my pillow crying. I was distraught. I was devastated by the ending. You know, it's a good book when you're devastated by the ending. And we're not talking like, oh, that's a bit annoying. We're talking absolutely distraught, crying my eyes out. It was perfect. Next book is a recent book for me, and that is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. So this book is a rom-com, and I didn't expect this to be a 5-star, but it was because I felt so accomplished by the end of it and I felt fulfilled. So this book was about a girl called Liz, and she has a neighbour called Wesley. And Wesley is constantly this annoying boy that's always lived next door to her since she was a child, like since like primary school. And he's always annoyed her. They always fight over the parking spot outside her house, and they never get on. But it's like banter, sort of, never get on. They don't actually hate each other, they're frenemies. And their childhood friend comes back to school, to high school, and he's called Michael. Michael is friends with Wesley more than he is Liz, and Liz has a massive crush on him and always has. So she asks Wesley if he can help her try and get Michael. She is trying her hardest to get with him and everything, and Wesley is trying his hardest because he wants that parking space, and that is what's up for grabs if he manages to help her. It's such a good story, and it's such a a beautiful story. It's childhood friends to lovers and enemies to lovers. It's so good, and obviously he's trying to help her so much. You can't help it if the sparks are flying, and even though Liz is starting to feel the feelings now, just because they're new feelings for her towards Wes, maybe Wes's feelings towards Liz aren't that new. It's so good. It's such a good feel-good sort of book. It gives Angus and Thongs and Perfect Snogging meets Bridget Jones. It's such a good book, and I know it's set in America, but the way that it's written is giving like a UK rom-com. I can't even lie about it. It literally is like, as I said, Bridget Jones and Bridget Jones and Angus Songs of Perfect Snogging, and also like a pinch of Love Actually. I really loved it. It was giving pure British rom-com, even though it was set in America. The next book is going to be hard for me to tell you why I like it without ruining the series, but I can try and tell you bits and pieces. So the next book that I put a 5-star was Defy Me by Tahereh Mafi. This book is in the Shatter Me series, and it is the second to last book, and I adored this book. This book was written in such a good way. We found out so much withheld information. We found out so much extra information. We found out the truth about a lot of the things that you are questioning throughout the first half of the book. And the way that this book ends is perfect. It's one of those books where it isn't left on a cliffhanger. It starts tense, it gets more intense, there's the problem, the conflict, and then there's the resolve, and it's perfect. It's a book which closes perfectly, and that is why it's my 5-star. If I would recommend a book series to you, I would recommend Shatter Me series. It's such a good series, and there's not too many books, but there's just enough for you to be invested, and it's a great series. I love it. The next book I'm going to talk about is For the Fans by Nyla K. This book is a forbidden romance book, and it is one of my favourites to this day. So this book follows two boys, Kieran and Abby, who are stepbrothers, recent stepbrothers, and they hate each other, territorial of their own space, and they can't stand each other, which is understandable. And Kieran decides he wants to go to university. Abby decides that he wants to go to the same one as Kieran and just likes to, you know, miff him off even more. When we soon find out that Kieran's dad and Abby's mum's partner cannot afford to be able to send them to university, they find out they're gonna have to make enough money to be able to send themselves to university and pay for board and rent and everything on their own with no help. It is such a good story. There are so many tropes in here. We have forbidden romance for a start. We have gay relationship. We have sports romance because Kieran is a football player. It's honestly a really, really good story, and I really enjoyed it. When we find out that they haven't got enough money, Mafi turns to one of his friends who's an OnlyFans star and asks for help on how to start an OnlyFans because he sees how much money that she's raking in and he thinks, why not? I'm gonna give it a go. I love this book so much. Kieran then sees how much money that Abby's making and obviously wants to know what the hell's happening, and ... It's not just a forbidden romance, it's actual love, and you see Kieran, who is his typical golden retriever, high school jock type of guy, typical straight guy, and Abby, who's just a bit more free, doesn't really care, paints his nails, does whatever he wants. They have this like banter and this spark between them. Kieran doesn't want it, but you can't deny it when you've got chemistry with somebody, and Kieran's going through this inner turmoil where he's trying to figure out if he's straight, is he bi, what's going on, and it is such a brilliant book. I was crying my eyes out. We see all these reasons why Kieran finds it hard to believe that he could be gay, and all these past things that have happened to Kieran, and it's an amazing book, and I thoroughly enjoyed it so much. And by the way, the smut in it is out of this world. Next thing I've got to mention is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I adored this. This was my first ever fantasy I ever read. I love this book so much. It was such a good fantasy to get me into the fantasy world. So this book, we follow a guy called Kaz. Kaz is in this universe where there are people with special abilities, and it's completely different to the world that we live in, like the real world. It's complete fantasy, it's completely immersive. In this world, a drug has been created to enhance Agrisha's power, and Agrisha is somebody who has an ability. And when it enhances their power, it also makes them addicted to the drug. They don't have enough of it when they've already become addicted. Their withdrawal will be so bad that it will kill them. As you can see, this is a big problem for people, and somebody hires Kaz, who is, I don't know what to call Kaz. He's a criminal. He's known for getting his hands dirty, but in a way that he never gets caught for anything. And he is asked to get the person who is creating this drug and bring them back to the person who has hired him. So Kaz creates a team of his closest friends and closest people he trusts to basically have this heist where they're going to break into a tower and take the person making this substance and give him to this person who wants him for a hefty sum. It's such a good book where you get to see him recruit people, and you get to see his history of the people he's recruited, and we also get to see the heist in so much detail. There's romances in this as well, and it's such a good story. I love Kaz and Enedge so much, and I need to read the next book, which is The Crooked Kingdom, because I just need to know what's going to happen next to Enedge. Honestly, really love this, and I never expected to be so interested by this. I found this in the works like £3, and it's a massive book, so I was like, yep, gonna get that. Amazing. I really love this book. If you want to get into fantasy and you need something that you know is gonna like get you into that sort of immersive mindset, I definitely recommend Six of Crows. I have one book series left, and I've only read 2 out of 4 of this book series, and it's a 2 out of 3. I remember there's a 4th book, and that is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I love these books, and they both have a 5-star from me. I need to read Good as Dead and Killjoy, but I adore these books. They're so good. And these books are about a girl called Pip, and she is a high school student, and she takes on this role of like an investigator. She is investigating the disappearance of somebody for her school project, and I find out what actually happened to them, but the town doesn't want to help her and she doesn't know why. There's so many secrets, so many things to dig up, and it's insane. The stakes are very high. It's a brilliant book. And I also want to say there's so many different sections in this that you look at and it like makes you want to read on. So for instance, this is what I mean, like there's like text messages and stuff in this book, and I'm gonna call it interactive stuff. Like there's a transcript here, more visual aids, that's what it is. There's visual aids in these books, especially in the second one, Good Girl Bad Blood. The second book is about a friend. So one of Pip's friends, brother, it goes missing, and they are distraught. The family's distraught, the mum and everyone is, and she agrees to help them, and she's ready to take a magnifying glass off the wall, put a hat on, become a detective again, and solve this case. She wants to know if the brother has died or what has happened to him, and the truth is actually incredibly shocking, and I was crying. So amazing. The second book I felt was better than the first, but I love them both equally, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series. And I'm gonna get them for my birthday. Those are all the books that I've rated a 5-star. I feel so tired now filming that video. I'm so sick as well right now that just took so much out of me. I need to put these books back on my bookshelf as well. Oh, I can't bother. Subscribe, like, and do that good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time with another video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on Sunday with another video. Bye!